Ready for the truth no one else dares to shout about the Bears? A star rookie is tearing up practice with such basic errors that even the veterans are watching in panic. And if they don't wake up, their career ends before it begins. Meanwhile, in the trenches, $1 million loss on the defensive line leaves us exposed against the Lions. Do you know what it means to face Gibbs and Montgomery without our secret weapon? But hold on, because what Ben Johnson is cooking up with our Pro Bowler is so revolutionary it will make the NFC North coordinators cry. Do you really think a single defense can contain what's coming? Subscribe now or settle in to miss the wildest twist of this Bears era. And turn on notifications, because things are getting you GLY. Let's start with something that has me worried but was totally predictable. Luther Burden III, our second-round pick, finally returned to the field after missing the first 4 practices due to a hamstring injury. And do you know what happened the moment he stepped on the field? Exactly what Ben Johnson feared. I believe this is what happens when a rookie misses crucial training time. Burden is having massive alignment issues, is confused in formations, and Johnson already had to pull him from several drills because he just didn't know where to position himself. But let me explain the real gravity of this situation. Johnson had warned that when rookies miss time, the consequences are immediate and visible. During Monday's walkthroughs, Burden caused so many problems, they had to rehuddle multiple times and restart plays from scratch. Imagine that! A walkthrough that should have been smooth turned into a disaster due to Burden's mental errors. And it didn't stop there. On Tuesday, when they finally mixed him in with the starting offense in 11 or -11 drills, Burden was still making the same mistakes. Johnson had no choice but to pull him from a play because he literally couldn't line up in the right spot. That's unacceptable for a second-round pick. I'll tell you something many don't understand. In Johnson's system, confidence is everything. The receivers have to be conceptual, able to move between positions and execute without hesitation. Colston Loveland has already talked about how they're training the skilled players to line up in multiple positions. But Burden can't even master one position correctly. And do you know what my biggest worry is? That this is not just a timing issue. From missing training, this may be a sign that Burden doesn't have the mental capacity to process the complex system Johnson is implementing. We've seen this before with high picks who couldn't adapt to the NFL's mental speed dot. Do you think this is a coincidence? I tell you no. Johnson established from day one that confidence is earned by doing the right things, and Burden is failing. On the basics, DJ Moore already warned, when you hit the field, you have to be ready to go. And clearly, he isn't. The situation becomes more concerning when you consider that Moore made those comments before Burden returned, as if he already knew what was going to happen. The veterans on this team know that Johnson won't lower his standards for anyone, and they're watching Burden fall behind day by day. Look, I understand he's a rookie and has missed training, but in Chicago, we don't have time for mental mistakes. Remember when we thought some of our previous picks were going to be the answer and turned out to be disappointments due to these types of basic problems? That's exactly why I'm worried. What frustrates me the most is that Burden has all the physical talent to be successful in the NFL. He's fast, has good hands, can create separation, but if he can't mentally process plays at the speed Johnson requires, all that physical talent is useless. Johnson isn't playing around. His standards are sky high, and if Burden doesn't get his act together quickly, he'll watch other receivers pass him in the depth chart. In this city, you either produce or you sit on the bench. And with the competition we have in the wide receiver room, Burden can't afford to keep making these basic mistakes. If that surprises you, wait until you hear this. But here's what's really worrying. Shemar Turner, our second-round pick on the defensive line, injured his ankle on the first day of training camp and is going to be out for a whole month. A month. Do you realize what this means for our defense? I ask you, how the heck are we going to face the Lions and their running game without one of our main reinforcements on the defensive line? Turner was coming off a spectacular season at Texas A&M with 115 tackles, 24 tackles for loss, and 10 sacks. This guy was the piece we needed to plug the gaps against the run. But let me delve into how devastating this injury is for our defensive plans. Turner wasn't just any second-round pick. This guy was the solution to one of our biggest problems: the lack of depth on the interior defensive line. At 6'4" and 290 pounds, Turner had the perfect combination of size to stop the run and explosiveness to pressure the quarterback at Texas A&M. Turner showed versatility that is extremely rare in players his age. His 24 tackles for loss were no fluke. This guy had the ability to read plays, penetrate the offensive line, and consistently make disruptive plays. His 3 forced fumbles showed that he could not only get to the backfield, but could finish the plays. And do you know what's most frustrating about all this? Turner had shown in college exactly the kind of situational awareness we need in Chicago. His pass deflection might sound like a minor stat, but for a defensive tackle, that indicates a player who understands the game beyond his specific position. Scouts saw in Turner a long-term anchor for our defensive line, someone who could grow, along with the rest of our young defensive talents. Now, all that development is going to be delayed by at least a month, and in the NFL, that time is critical for rookies. And now it turns out that Justin Jones and Andrew Billings are going to have to carry the full weight, while Khyiris Tonga is going to have to assume more responsibilities than we expected. And do you know what's the worst part of it all? He's going to miss the entire preseason. But here's the real problem. Jones and Billings are solid veterans, but they don't have Turner's athletic explosiveness. Tonga has potential, but he's in his 3rd year and still hasn't shown consistency. Turner was supposed to be that X factor, giving us a different dimension on our defensive line. I firmly believe that the preseason is where rookies prove they belong in the NFL. Turner won't have that opportunity, and when he returns in week 2 or 3, he'll be way behind in his development compared to the rest of the team. He'll have to learn the defensive system, develop chemistry with his teammates, and adapt to the NFL speed, all at the same time during the regular season. Do you understand the pressure this puts on the rest of the defense? Our linebackers are going to have to make up for the lack of interior penetration. Our defensive backs are going to face more pressure because quarterbacks are going to have more time in the pocket. The whole defensive scheme is affected by the absence of one player. Do you think this isn't going to affect our defensive plans against Green Bay and Detroit? You're crazy if you think that. The Lions have one of the best offensive lines in the league, and their running game with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs is lethal. Without Turner plugging up the interior gaps, we're going to be vulnerable to their ground attack. And don't forget about Green Bay. Aaron Jones may not be there anymore, but Josh Jacobs is a physical back that's going to test our defensive line early and often. Without the depth Turner provided, we're going to have to rotate fewer players, meaning more fatigue and potentially more injuries during the season. We need depth on that defensive line, especially in the NFC North where teams are going to try to run the ball over us. Turner was that depth, and now we have to hope and pray someone else steps up. The most frustrating part is that ankle injuries can be misleading. They may seem minor, but if they don't heal properly, they can affect a player's mobility and explosiveness for the rest of the season. Turner needs to be 100% when he returns because we can't afford another setback. And when you thought we were done. But Chicago is not finished. Because what Ben Johnson is doing with DJ Moore is absolutely genius and is going to change our entire offense. Did you know that Johnson is already putting Moore in the backfield as a running back? I tell you this with total excitement. Moore is learning entire packages where he comes out of the slot, moves to the backfield, and is taking handoffs and tosses like he's a real running back. And the most incredible thing is that Moore says it's not that challenging because he already did it in high school and college. But let me explain why this is revolutionary for our offense. Johnson isn't simply moving Moore for the sake of moving him. He's creating a system where the defense never knows what to expect. When Moore is in the backfield, the defense has to wonder, is it a handoff? Is it a screen? Is it coming out on a route? Is it a trick play? The conversation between Johnson and Moore was straightforward. We have this package of plays, and you have to know it by tomorrow. And Moore, being the competitor he is, said perfect and dove headfirst into learning. That just get me the ball mentality is exactly what Johnson wanted to hear. But do you know why this is historic for Chicago? Because Johnson finally found a way to get the ball into our best playmakers' hands in the most creative ways possible. We're no longer going to rely on Moore just running routes. Now we're going to use him in screens, in the backfield, in motion plays, in everything. Moore himself admitted it's a completely different feeling being in the backfield compared to being outside. Everything moves faster, the angles are different, but he has prior experience and, more importantly, the physical mindset to handle it. Johnson said it clearly. Moore is a physical guy who knows how to run after the catch, who only needs to get the ball. And that's exactly what he's going to do. We've already seen in practice how Moore moves from wide receiver in motion and takes a toss in a fake end around. That's Navy and orange, baby. But here's the smartest part. Johnson isn't limiting Moore to just the backfield. He's maintaining his ability as a deep threat, too. He specifically mentioned that Moore had a good go route the other day, meaning they're preparing packages where Moore can line up in the backfield, go in motion, and then explode downfield for a deep ball. Can you imagine what a nightmare this will be for defensive coordinators? A safety will have to come down to help stop the run when Moore is in the backfield. But if Moore goes in motion and goes deep, that same safety will be out of position. It's genius. I believe this will completely open up our offense. Imagine the possibilities. Moore in the backfield with Caleb Williams in the pocket, the defense not knowing if it's a handoff, screen, or if Moore is coming out on a deep route. Defensive coordinators are going to go crazy. Why trying to prepare for this? And here's the most exciting part. Johnson is just starting to show his creativity. The fact that he's already implementing these complex concepts in the first week of training camp shows he has a clear vision of how he wants to use Moore throughout the season. Moore's versatility is going to force defenses to show their intentions earlier. If they see Moore in the backfield, they'll have to adjust their personnel and alignment, giving Caleb Williams more pre-snap information to make the best decisions. And do you know what's the craziest part of all this? Johnson is just starting to show his creativity. If this is what he's doing in the first week of training camp, imagine what he's going to have ready for the regular season. But there's another element that many aren't considering. This is going to make Moore harder to defend in red zone situations. When you're near the goal line, the field compresses. But if Moore can line up in multiple positions and execute different types of plays, it's going to be impossible for defenses to have the right personnel on the field. Johnson is creating a Keltemson system where Moore will have favorable matchups no matter how the defense tries to adjust. If they put more defensive backs to cover his skills as a receiver, Moore will punish them as a runner. If they put more linebackers to stop the run, Moore will explode over them in passing plays. The most exciting part is that this will open opportunities for all the other offensive weapons. When the defense is obsessed with stopping Moore, Roma Oduns will have more space, Cole Kmet will have better matchups, and our running backs will face lighter boxes. After years of watching this team struggle to create explosive plays, we finally have a head coach who understands how to maximize the talent we have. Moore is going to have the best season of his career. I guarantee it. Look, Bears fans, these 3 pieces of news tell us exactly where we are as an organization. We have challenges with rookies needing to catch up, injuries that will test our depth, but we also have the offensive creativity this city has been waiting for years. Do you believe Burden will overcome his alignment issues and become the receiver we hope for? Will Turner be able to return strong enough to impact our defense? And are you as excited as I am to see DJ Moore dominating from multiple positions? Let me know in the comments which of these news has you more excited or concerned. And if you want to keep getting the most exclusive news about the Bears, analysis you won't find anywhere else, and the most honest perspective on this team, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. We're a family of Bears fans who live and breathe navy blue and orange, and you are an essential part of this community. Every like, every comment, every subscription helps us grow and continue bringing you the content you deserve. Day Bears! And we'll see you in the next video with more explosive news from Chicago.